الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue with Surah Al-Maarij, Surah number 70, and we stopped at Ayah number 32, from Surah Al-Maarij, Surah number 70, Ayah number 32. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. والذين هم لأماناتهم وعهدهم راعون. والذين هم بشهاداتهم قائمون. والذين هم على صلاتهم يحافظون. أولئك في جنات مكرمون. فما للذين كفروا قبلك مهطعين. فما للذين كفروا قبلك مهطعين. عن اليمين وعن الشمال عزين. عن اليمين وعن الشمال عزين. أيطمع كل امرئ منهم أن يدخل جنة نعيم. أيطمع كل امرئ منهم أن يدخل جنة نعيم. كلا إنا خلقناهم مما يعلمون. كلا إنا خلقناهم مما يعلمون. فلا أقسم برب المشارق والمغارب إنا لقادرون. على أن نبدل خيرا منهم وما نحن بمسبوقين. فما للذين كفروا, we took the ones before. فما للذين كفروا, number 36. قبلك, as you see the qaf has a kasra and the ba has a fatha, so the ba is not sukun, it's fatha. قبلك مهطعين, and the ha comes from the bottom of the throat. مهطعين عن اليمين وعن الشمال عزين, as you see the kasra from one word to the other. عزين. أيطمع, the ta with sukun قلقلة. أيطمع كل امرئ منهم, كل امرئ منهم, تنوين after it, ميم, إدغام وغنة. أن يدخل, and the kha is heavy. Jannata na'im, the nun with shadda. Kalla, the mad. Inna, the nun with shadda. Khalaqnahum, qaf is heavy with qalqala, and the same thing for the kha. Khalaqnahum, then you have two memes. خلقناهم مما يعلمون. فلا the mad. أقسم, قلقلة for the قاف. أقسم برب المشارق والمغارب. Make sure the alif is there. You see the small alif, that means it's alif. برب المشارق, plural of المشرق. المشارق والمغارب إنا نون شدة لقادرون على أن نبدل نون شدة نون after نون وإدغام وغنة على أن نبدل خيرا منهم, the same thing. وما نحن بمسبوقين فذرهم. We'll stop here inshallah. So the ayat, continuing with the characteristics of the musallin, the characteristics of the believers, the characteristics of those who will be saved in the hellfire. And you can look at it from all these different perspectives. And since it says from the beginning, إِلَّا الْمُصَلِّينَ, the musallin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect them from what the rest are upon in this life. إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا. Al-khayr wa shar affects them, affects the human beings. If something bad afflicts them, they're in a state of jaza', horrified, terrified, not functioning in the proper way, thinking bad about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, complaining, all kinds of things. And if good happens to them, they withhold the khair, the goodness that is with them. They become greedy with not just money, but also with everything else. They don't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're busy indulging into their fulfillment of their desires, of the khair that Allah gave them. And if they're in dire need, they also, instead of being ungrateful or not being patient. So who are the ones that are protected from this? Al-Musallin, those who establish the salah, and they have these other qualities because they are Musallin. When someone is allowed and given the permission to stand by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 5 times a day as an obligation and more for the optional salah, this person should be different than the rest of the world. He's been allowed to worship Allah. He's been given the permission and chosen to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So they should be the best people walking on the face of earth because of their salah. Inna salata tanha an al-fahsha'i wal-munkar. Salah forbids the one that makes it from the fahsha and the munkar and the evil actions. Those who are continuous making their salah, وَالَّذِينَ فِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ مَعْلُومٌ. The salah makes a person generous because he's giving from his time. And the greed with time is another issue. That's why people are tested every day. Work, salah, relax, rest, or salah, sleep, or your salah. Tested with regards to the salawat. So when a person is generous with his own rest and his own time and things like this, then definitely he is also generous with his money and his whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon him. And they take it as its haqq, it's a right upon them, not a favor that they're doing to others. So لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ وَالَّذِينَ يُصَدِّقُونَ بِيَوْمِ الدِّينِ. They do this because they believe in Yawm al-Din, the day of al-Jaza, the day of recompense and the day of al-Qiyamah. They have the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because no one can guarantee to be protected from it. That means they can change and they can fall into deviation, wal-'iyadhu billah. So the fear of Allah and the fear of being deviated is a healthy one. And if someone is truthful, he would take the means. But when someone feels secure, he's upon what is right, he's doing good, this is a dangerous state for a person to be in. And then the last thing we talked about is وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ. They guard, and the word حَافِظُون, they guard their private parts, they guard their chastity, guarding it. So that means that when you guard something, that means some others are trying to attack it, or someone, something valuable, that you're guarding it so that you don't allow any things to slip away. So this is how a person guards himself. That's why he guards his eyesight, whatever he listens to, whatever environments that he's in, so that he guards or she guides their private parts and their chastity. إلا except على أزواجهم أو ما ملكت أيمانهم فإنهم غير ملومين, they are not to be blamed. فمن ابتغى وراء ذلك, and وراء ذلك, anything beyond that, they are transgressing the limits. Anything, any of the desire that they would seek beyond their wives or the right hand possess, that means they are transgressing the limits. Then after that, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ, and those who keep their trust and covenants. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ, they are towards their amanat and their ahd. Ra'un, that means they, as we'll talk about it, they keep it or they guard it. And as Imam Sa'di rahimahullah, he says, أي مراعون لها. So we have al-amanat wal-ahd. Al-amanat is anything that has been, they are entrusted with. As the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, ayatul munafiq thalath. The sign of the hypocrite is three. إذا حدث كذب, وإذا وعد أخلف, وإذا اؤتمن خان. Al-munafiq, if he's entrusted with something, he will betray his trust. So the opposite of that, the believers, the musallin, they are towards their amanat. Ra'un, and their ahd, their covenants, ra'un. And al-amanat wal-ahd, there are amanat when it comes to them, between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As-salah is amana, as-salah is a trust that a person has to fulfill. The being obedient to Allah and all what that means, being away from what Allah forbid, these are amanat, this is amana. إِنَّ عَرَضْنَا الْأَمَانَةَ عَلَى السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَالْجِبَالِ فأبين أن يحملنا وأشفقن منها وحملها الإنسان. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presented the amana, the trust, to the heavens and the earth and the mountains, and they refused, and the human beings are the ones that bore this amana. What is this amana? As-sam' wa ta'a, the choice to be listen and to obey, or wal'iyadhu billah, the opposite. So this is amana, whether to betray it or whether to ra'un, that means they're guarding it, they're establishing it. And the second type of the amanat between them and the ibad of Allah, the human beings, whatever they're entrusted with, in every aspect of what that means. And al-ahd is the covenant. So any ahd, any covenant between two sides, and the ahd between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worship Him alone and to be obedient to Him, and the uhud or mawathiq between individuals towards one another, people working together, people having all kinds of different agreements and contracts and so on, they are ra'un. أي مراعون لها. مراعون لها, الرعاية is one of the words that you're constantly doing something, guarding something, maintaining it, keeping it as fulfilled and strong. حافظون, guarding it. مجتهدون, striving. على أدائها, to establish it, to act upon it. والوفاء بها, to be faithful with regards to these amanat and these uhud. So as we know that life is a test, and you will be tested with regards to these amanat, to do what? To betray it, or with the uhud not to fulfill it. So the command is ra'un, and it shows that this is a noun, that means this is their steady state. It's not an action once in a while. One time he's guarding the amanat, some other times because it's not too fulfilling to him, he does not care too much about it, or whatever things that he likes or he doesn't like. وهذا, he says, وهذا شامل, this is what we just mentioned, this includes لجميع الأمانات, to all different types of amanat, لأماناتهم, all different types of trusts, التي بين العبد وبين ربه, between the abd, between the slave of Allah and his Lord. كالتكاليف السرية, he mentioned here specifically that something that sometimes some people, they don't pay attention to it, that this is amana. The secret takalif, the secret obligations. Secret, that means this is not in front of everyone. This is between the person and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. التي لا يطلع عليها إلا الله. The ones that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees. One of which is this heart. We are commanded to guard it and not to let it open and loose to anything that is out there. So that's why to guard our hearts when it comes to the fear of Allah, the hope for the rewards from Allah, the love of Allah, the niyat, the intentions, these are all amanat that has to be observed. and lowering the gaze when a person is alone, protecting one's hearing, so that this is all amana. The eyes are amana, the ears are amana, the hands are amana, and just everything is in the categories of al-amana, because it's what we're created for. So, but here to pay attention, and the tafsir of Imam Sa'di has so many different meanings of a tarbiyah, that a person would guard himself and benefits there. And of course, the openly ones are very obvious. But many people, they overlook التكاليف السرية, the secret ones. والأمانات التي بين العبد وبين الخلق. And the amanat between the abd and the khalq, the creation of Allah. في الأموال, with regards to money and possessions of things and materialistic things. والأسرار, السر أمانة. And there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. If someone tells you something, he doesn't have to say, listen, this is a secret. Do not tell anyone anything. He doesn't have to say that. Just the fact that he's saying it, and it looks very obvious that he's not holding the microphone to say it to everyone. So this is secret. That means not to be disclosed to anyone else. This is amana. And even the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, when Anas radiallahu anhu came back home, and he used to serve the Prophet ﷺ, and his mother asked him, what did you do? What did the Prophet ﷺ say to you? He said, هذا سر رسول. This is ما كنت لأفشي سر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And he's a child. It wasn't befitting for me to disclose the secret of the Prophet ﷺ. Not secret like plotting, and secret is not necessarily someone is plotting evil. Just go get me this, and something that to the household, for example. That's he did not say it to the entire masjid. Can someone please? I want something. To one individual. I'm going to get sugar for brother, because he asked me to get him when I was by the grocery store. What are you doing? I'm going to do this for. He did not tell you to tell everyone. He asked you for a favor. Keep it between you and him. He doesn't have to put a title to it that it's secret. It's a subject that requires ilm, because there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ and etiquettes to be observed. And nowadays, again, it's not that a person would say to another person. He might say it to the entire world. Al-hadith amana. When you speak, it's a huge subject, the subject of al-iman. People are sitting together in a room talking about something. This is amana. Nothing is to be said outside of that place. It's not, again, that they're doing unless a person is doing something evil. Yes, he has to take actions. They're plotting to do something illegal, something haram. That's a different situation. But just even if they're sitting, just nothing of any importance, this is amana. It is not permissible for whatever is being said to be disclosed and to be mentioned elsewhere. So this is just put a note on the side that we need to learn really how to observe these amanat when it comes to the subject of the secrets itself, al-amwali wal-asrar. وَكَذَلِكَ الْعَهْدِ. And the same thing with al-ahd, the covenant. So the amanat includes everything. وَالْعَهْد, the covenant or contracts. شامل العهد الذي عاهد عليه الله. The ahd, the covenant between a person and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالْعَهْد الذي عاهد عليه الخلق. And any ahd, any covenant, any contract between a person and the khalq, and the creation of Allah. And these uhud doesn't have to be written, by the way. I didn't sign any contract. It doesn't have to be that you signed anything. Just agreement like this. This is a covenant by itself. فإن العهد يسأل عنه العبد. A person will be asked about these uhud and these contracts and these covenants. هل قام به ووفاه? Did he established it and fulfill it? أم رفضه وخانه فلم يقم به? Or he rejected it and betrayed it, and he did not fulfill it in the proper way. So this is وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. As you see, these are characteristics of the believers versus the opposite of that, which is the characteristics of the hypocrites. So al-ghadr, or being betrayals and things like that, this is not from the characteristics of the believers. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِشَهَادَاتِهِمْ قَائِمُونَ. And those who stand firm in their shahada testimonies. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِشَهَادَاتِهِمْ قائمون. So since the amanat is mentioned, the, whatever they're entrusted with, and the uhud, the contract and everything, so ash-shahada is mentioned. Shahada is to witness, is to testify. So when a person is asked to testify, then he should not refuse. And they are established their shahada, and the shahada in matters of dispute and things like this has also its ahkam and its rulings. So as simple as you don't make shahada except for what is like the sun. The sun meaning how clear it is. You say, I witness there is the sun up there. I see it. Right? That's the like of that. You don't make shahada or witness or testimony based on a guess or someone told you, or it's probably him. There's things like this. So والذين هم بشهاداتهم قائمون, he says, أي لا يشهدون إلا بما يعلمون. They won't witness to something except with what they know. من غير زيادة ولا نقص ولا كتمان, without increase or decrease or concealing. So the three are evil if they are in the context of shahada. They have to bear witness. So no increase to it, no exaggeration to it, no word less, and no concealing. ولا يحابي فيها قريبا ولا صديقا ونحوه. And he does not يحابي from المحبة. He does not favor a relative or a friend, even if it's oneself. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He commanded the believers, كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء ولو على أنفسكم. شهداء ولو على أنفسكم, even if it's against yourself. أو الوالدين والأقربين, even if it's against your parents, even if it's against your relatives, even if the witness, your parents are in a dispute with the worst human beings ever walked on the face of earth. They are in dispute with Fir'aun, right? And they are in dispute with him. But the haqq in this matter is with the evil one, with Fir'aun. And you're called to testify. Parents versus, and you know something, you saw something, and you only witness with what you know for sure. You do it even if it's against your parents. There is no compromisation to this. There's no leeways or exceptions, or but the circumstances. But if I do this, they would harm, and that guy, he's a billionaire, versus my parents. If it's $1,000 for that evil person, he would take it and drink and intoxicate himself, while my parents are righteous people and they're poor, and that means a lot to them. If the adl, justice, is with the other side, there's not even a possibility for a person to go otherwise. There's no fatwas to be sought. There is nothing whatsoever. This maqam al-shahada. As-sulh is a loose, easy way. As-sulh, rectify the situation. Come on, this is easy matter. Why don't you overlook it? That's a different context. But al-shahada, as the ayat of the Quran are very clear, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So it doesn't matter if the entire world are betrayers, they betray their shahada. If your enemies are liars, they deceive. It doesn't matter. This is a worship between the person and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيَكُونَ الْقَصْدُ بِهَا وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. And a person's intention is to seek the rewards from Allah, to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Day of Judgment. So you see, each one is a foundation by itself and has chapters of knowledge, and there are text wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala how to observe it. And it says, you see, test from Allah. قال تعالى وأقيموا الشهادة لله. أقيموا, establish the shahada to Allah. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين إن يكن غنيا أو فقيرا فالله أولى بهم. Don't say he's poor, don't say he's rich. Allah will take care of them. So, and this is an area which is in many different act of amanat and trustworthy matters and contracts and things of that nature. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِشَهَادَاتِهِمْ. And you see how even the wordings, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ, this is ism mawsul, وَالَّذِينَ for who, جمع مذكر, and muannath also. If it's mentioned in general like this, both male and female, and hum means stressing the fact that they are upon this, no exceptions. بِشَهَادَاتِهِمْ, by their shahadat. So that means whenever they are in the state of giving shahada, what is their state? قائمون, establishing it, not just saying it or doing, no, قائمون, establishing it in the most perfect way. والذين هم على صلاتهم يحافظون, and those who guard their salah well. So the salah is mentioned again at the end. The first one, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. دائمون, dawam is the continuity of it. Here يحافظون, they are guarding it. So this is from the beginning to the end, which shows all of that is to be attained by the salah. And any weakness or deficiencies in the salah causes what's in between to be also weak, and vice versa also. If a person does not guard what's in between, that affects the most important act in his salah. He says here, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. What's يُحَافِظُون? Guarding it. بِمُدَاوَمَتِهَا عَلَى أَكْمَلِ وُجُوهِهَا. And mudawama is mentioned earlier, the continuity of it, but on a perfect way. This is what the extra meaning to يُحَافِظُون. يُدَاوِمُون, this is the continuity of the act. Every day, 5 times a day, on its time, prescribed time. This is the continuity. يُحَافِظُون, that means they are doing it perfectly. إقامة الصلاة, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered them, with its wudu, with its ruku', with its sujood, and even some, as Ibn Jurayj, he said, التطوع, the optional salah too, because this is part of guarding your obligatory salah. When you guard something, you have to have a buffer zone, if it's correct to say. Right? You don't, if it's the most valuable thing, you cannot just be there in it, guarding it. If someone comes, attacks it, yes, you might push it away, but harm is already happened because you're right there. But if you step, you make a buffer zone, barrier between you, and if someone wants to come and attack whatever is valuable, he has to go through many different hurdles, and you're protecting each one. So if the harm happens in the outside, it doesn't affect the core of what you're guarding. The same thing with the salah. And that's why those who only make the obligatory salah, even though when it comes to halal and haram, as the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he said to the Bedouin, when he said, لا أزيد عليها, wallahi, I would not do any more or less of the 5 salah, he said, أفلح in صدق, أو أفلح وأبيه in صدق. He's successful if he's truthful. But who can do that? Who can guard his 5 daily salah, perfected it? This is, no one is doing this. So that means you have to guard it with the other salawat. Sunnah salah, optional salah, night prayer. That's one of the intentions, one of the reason why there's optional salah, even though we call it optional, but it's to do what? Is to fix the weaknesses and the deficiencies in the obligatory salah. Otherwise, he comes in the day of judgment, the obligations he did not fulfill it, that means he is subjected to the punishment of Allah. So the word يحافظون. So that's why الدوام, which is what number of verse, which is دائمون? Ayah number 23 versus ayah number 34. الذين هم على صلاتهم دائمون versus يحافظون. الدوام is different than المحافظة. 2 words. الدوام والمحافظة. الدوام, they are making muhafadha, they're guarding it to establish it. Right? Nothing divert them away from their salah. Work does not take them away from their salah, sleep, whatever. This is yudawimun. Right? They're always doing it. Nothing takes them away from their salah. Yuhafidhun, that means they are guarding it to perfect it, to establish it with its pillars and conditions and the sunan and the adab, and to guard it from ruining the rewards of it. A person makes the salah, if he is mudawam alayha, he's doing it continuously, he's guarding it to perfect it, and that's not the end of what he does with the salah. He has to keep on guarding it, not to ruin the rewards of it, by continuously having the sincerity for the sake of Allah, not to brag about himself and things like that. And part of that is to establish these characteristics that are mentioned in the verses, because the salah tanha an al-fahsha'i wal-munkar. So if the salah does not forbid the person from the fahsha' or the munkar, it doesn't mean that it ruins the rewards of his salah. He has to continue the salah, but he has to guard it. Even like the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, أَتَعَرَّفًا, whoever goes to a fortune teller, his salah would not be accepted for 40 days. That person did not guard his salah. Even though he has to continue to make the salah, even the hadith has some narrations weakness in it, but the meaning is correct. So anyway, so وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. What is for them? أُولَٰئِكَ فِي جَنَّاتٍ مُكْرَمُونَ. Such shall dwell in the gardens in the Jannat. So here he says أُولَٰئِكَ. What's أُولَٰئِكَ, by the way? That's what they can Arabic. What's huh? Right, which is those who, but it's, what is it? Is it اسمه إشارة? No. So اسمه إشارة to who? للبعيد, which is honoring them. أولئك أي الموصوفون بتلك الصفات, those who have these characteristics. في جنات مكرمون, they are in gardens honored. They are مكرمون, they are honored. أي قد أوصل الله لهم من الكرامة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them, أوصل, connected them to الكرامة, the honor, والنعيم المقيم, the everlasting delight. ما تشتهيه الأنفس, what every nafs would desire, وتلذ الأعين, and their eyes are enjoying what they see. وهم فيها خالدون, and they will be in it forever. He says here important meanings after mentioning these characteristics. وحاصل هذا, the matter about this, the fact of the matter is أن الله وصف أهل السعادة والخير بهذه الأوصاف الكاملة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the people of happiness and خير and goodness with these complete and perfect characteristics. والأخلاق الفاضلة, and the virtue of manners. من العبادات البدنية, from the physical acts of worship, كالصلاة, like the salah, والمداومة عليها, the continuity of it, والأعمال القلبية, and the deeds done by the heart, كخشية الله, as it's mentioned, the fear of Allah, الداعية لكل خير, that invites the person to do every goodness. Without the fear of Allah, the person then is invited to do all evil. والعبادات المالية, and the financial acts of worship. والعقائد النافعة, and the benefiting عقائد and matters of belief. والأخلاق الفاضلة, the virtue of manners. ومعاملة الله, and to have that relationship of ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ومعاملة خلقه, and to deal with the creation of Allah. أحسن معاملة, to do it in the most perfect way. من إنصافهم, by being fair to them. وحفظ عهودهم, and to guard their covenants. وأسرارهم, and their secrets. والعفة التامة, and the complete chastity, as it's mentioned in the verses. بحفظ الفروج, to guard the private parts and chastity. عما يكره الله تعالى, from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates. So as you see, the rewards is far more than these actions. But if you compare Jannat Mukramun, Jannat that is everlasting, for what? For counted years of applying these rules. If someone thinks that it's heavy, but it's not forever. Even if it was forever, it's worth it. This is the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these are great qualities. Anyone with decent fitrah, pure nature, he would definitely see that these are beautiful things. But is it easy for the human beings? It requires struggle, yes. Patience, yes, because we're weak and we're deficient, and the desires overtakes, or whispers of shaitan, environment, people, whatever it is. So the person has to guard himself. How long is the struggle? 80, 100, whatever. But the reward is an everlasting one. So it's not even close. It's beyond and far more what these simple actions are compared to the reward. So a person, if he looks at the rewards of things, he would see how the actions are very easy and it's nothing whatsoever. But for those who do not have their hearts attached to the hereafter, they might see the takalif and the obligations. This is too difficult. Salah every day 5 times, and all of these amanat and uhud and things like this. If a person is just limited to this life, even wal'ayadhu billah, some of the people, when they're not, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's in the hearts, they were steadfast upon the deen, at least to what appears to people. And then when they deviate, they would say, whether it's with their lisan al-maqal, with their speech, or they would have it in their hearts. And someone actually said that. He said, I wasted the best days of my life not enjoying it, because he was making it difficult for himself when it comes to being steadfast upon the deen of Allah. So he did not do what people did in their fun years and things like this. regretting that he was steadfast upon the deen of Allah. And the deen of Allah does not forbid what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permitted, but a person has to guard himself so that he fulfill his desires in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permitted. So this is, and to be just a reminder again, and it won't take long, but it requires really to reflect upon over and over again. This deen is a serious matter. Yes. And as Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he said, إن هذا الأمر جد. This matter is jid, it's a serious matter. فلا تخلطوه بالهزل. Do not mix it with al-hazl. Hazl is what the opposite of jid. Seriousness is the opposite of that, is the looseness and joking, and not joking, but do not take it lightly. Do not take it as if it's a play or not something very serious. Oh, if it's difficult for you, brothers, it's okay. Then it's okay. Turn away from it. Life is like this. Who said this? Subhanallah. If you're sitting in a gathering in a table and the people are passing on the alcohol when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered you to stay away from this, consider that the area in front of you have the intention that this is your table and the rest does not belong to you. Just hazl, just making mockery of the religion. Even if a person thinks I'm making it easy for people, otherwise people would run away from the deen. You're not the Lord of the Alameen. You are someone just to convey the matter in the right way with the proper knowledge, with asking the people of knowledge. Fatwas has its people. But the point here is, فَلَا تَخْلِطُوهُ بِالْهَزْلِ. Do not mix it with making mockery of the religion. الَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا دِينَهُمْ لَهْوًا وَلَعِبًا. Those who took their religion amusement and la'ib, matter that is not that serious. And then he said, رضي الله عنه, فإن القلوب, if people, whoever sees this, مجه الناس, people would reject the religion if it's like this, opposite to what these people think they're doing to the people. If we make it easy for them, making as if it's from their own pockets, right? If they make the haram halal for them, so that we bring them, so that we don't lose them, what happens? This is the way to lose the people. مجه الناس. And majj is when you have water and you spit it out. People would reject the deen if they see that it's mixed with mockery, with making it a playful thing. No, the deen is a serious matter. And a person has to seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to be steadfast upon the deen of Allah. And from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, to take it easy on oneself. Now the deen mateen. It's a very strong thing, so be gentle with oneself. And don't burden yourself according to the deen, not according to one's desire. And do the things that Allah permitted and enjoy that, because it helps the person to continue, because he's a human being. All of that is with ilm. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from the evil within our own selves and to make us comprehend what we hear, inshallah. Right. The significance of hum. Here we have وَالَّذِينَ hum. And other than the Quran, if you make an example, it says وَالَّذِينَ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ أو الَّذِينَ بِشَهَادَاتِهِمْ. The meaning is correct as far as the meaning. But hum makes it stressing the meaning. First of all, that requires it's honoring them. So that's why it's mentioned extra words. The extra words gives more meaning. So وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ, they are the ones that for sure, definitely. So it gives the meaning of being stressed. The meaning of it, the amana is being done by them in such a diligent way, and it also to honor them, because they're mentioned like this where the dhamir is mentioned. No. Yes, طيب بارك الله فيكم وصلى الله وسلم على محمد وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.